Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So in this video, I'm going to show you how I created this thumbnail by exporting a transparent PNG from Blender Grease Pencil, making some adjustments to it in Photoshop, and then compositing it in InDesign with text and a background. I'm mainly making this video for myself because I always forget how to export a transparent PNG from Blender Grease Pencil and which settings I need to choose, even though there's really only 1 to 2 settings you need to know. But I do it so infrequently, I guess, I typically forget. So here I am in Blender Grease Pencil, and I actually drew this in Blender Grease Pencil, and I'll include a time lapse of that process at the end if you want to see that. I won't be including any voiceover. It's just kind of a quick drawing that I did, and then I added a little bit of color to it. So in my scene, I've only got the camera and the Batman Grease Pencil object. And if I scroll around, you can see that the white is the world color. It's not actually a background. So hit 0 on the numpad to come back to that view. So if I exported this now, you would get Batman with a white background. So you can see if I hit render, that's what it looks like. And that's what I would get, even with a PNG. So in order to fix that, you need to go to the camera settings over here on the right in the properties menu, click on film and click transparent. Now if I render, you'll see that it has the checkerboard background, which means that it is transparent. The other setting you may need to know, if you go to the output setting here, which is the third tab down, you click on output, you can choose what format. So you can choose from things like PNGs, JPEGs, but if you want to work with a transparent background, I typically use PNG. And then there's a couple of settings here. You need to make sure your color is set to RGBA. That means it's an alpha channel. So that way there will be a transparent background. But if you render this, and then you go here to Image, Save As, you also have those options here. So the same options are on the Output tab or here. You can set those as you're saving it. So just to be aware of that. So now you just navigate to where you want to save it and Save As Image. Now I've already got mine saved, so I'm going to close out of this. Now, once I had this exported from Grease Pencil, I want to combine it in InDesign to create my final thumbnail. And I'm using InDesign for 2 reasons. I really prefer the text tools in InDesign compared to Photoshop, although you could do all this in Photoshop. Additionally, I've had some Photoshop issues recently, importing images and it crashing, and I've installed previous versions and tried some troubleshooting, but I can't get it to work. So I've transitioned to using InDesign to create my thumbnails, which my primary job is a graphic designer, so I use InDesign quite a bit on a regular basis. So it was easy for me to transition to InDesign for that process. So if you put this in Photoshop, you can see that it's actually the frame size that you had in Blender. So I did make some changes to it. So I ended up cropping it. And then I made some edits to it because I wanted a darker version. And I could have done all this in Blender, but I really wanted to make the color changes in Photoshop. And I did that because I'm going to take this in InDesign as one layer, put a background layer, and then put my words and word balloon on top of that. So if I open Illustrator, here's the illustration I was using for my background. And I bought this off iStock. I did make a couple of changes to this. I hid the castle, and that was about it. So I saved this out also as a PNG, although I didn't need any transparency with it. So the changes I made to it in Photoshop was I added a hue and saturation adjustment layer, and I took most of the color out. Then I added the curve just to soften it up a little bit, and then the levels to bring up a lot of the white. So this is my background. So you can see my Batman character is way too colorful for that. So I did make some adjustments to him too. First, I cleaned up the line work a little bit. So you can see on his face, I removed some of those lines. Then I desaturated him quite a bit. Then I selected him and added a color similar to the background color and then created that as an overlay. Then I lightened him up just a bit. And then I added a highlight to the side of his face where that shadow originally was to give it just a little bit of color because everything else is going to be gray and blue and green. So that adds just a little bit. And then I lightened him up just a little bit more. So my final files were him and then this background. So here I am in InDesign, and you can see I only have 4 layers. Added the background layer, and then I really blew it up. So I just had a little hint of the background, so you can see how I resized that based on the size of this box. So then I added him on top of it. Then I created a word balloon, just an oval, and then I added the little tail to it, and then I added the font. So a big takeaway for this is how to export a transparent PNG from Blender and then to be able to use that in other programs depending on what you're doing. Now I could have I adjusted all the colors in Blender, and I could have added the background in as an image on a plane and adjusted the size and the colors there, but I really want to create the thumbnail kind of quickly, and sometimes it's easier just to work in the programs I'm used to as a graphic designer, so it was much quicker to do it this way. So being able to export a transparent PNG from Blender makes it very helpful and useful in other programs. And for the end of the video, I'll show a time lapse of me drawing Batman in Blender Grease Pencil. If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe, and let me know if you want to see me using other programs with Blender, such as Toon Boom Harmony or InDesign or Photoshop or Illustrator. Those are kind of the main programs that I use on a daily basis. So again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.